Hey everyone, Pushing Up Roses here, and welcome to a terrifying experience.
Don't cry, Grandma. I'm not really dead.
Brother, what's that?
You see, while looking for the next movie to discuss here on this channel, a friend came to me and dared me to explain, quote, how the ghosts work of the 2004 low-budget film Ghost Lake. Well, I didn't need any more convincing to watch the film. That one sentence made me buy the DVD right away, and then I watched it, and let me tell you, I don't know if I can explain the ghosts, or really anything that happens in this film, but despite that, I need to tell someone about this movie, and it's gonna be you, the viewers. This might be a rather long video because, honestly, I feel like I need to talk about every single scene because every single scene is bonkers. I hope you like ghost stories where the ghost rules make no sense, the acting is questionable, and the special effects are whatever you would call this. I've decided to take on this challenge and try to figure out, to quote my friend, how the ghosts work while we ride this wild roller coaster called Ghost Lake. But first, let's go over some fun facts. Ghost Lake is a 2004 low-budget film directed, written, and scored by Jay Wolfel. This is not the director's first rodeo in the horror ring. Wolfel has always had a vested interest in the genre, beginning in 1980 with his short, The Satanic Socks. A boy is attacked by the socks he owns but never wears. I haven't seen this short film, but here's my recreation. Why don't you ever wear me, boy? I'll kill you! Ah! In 1983, he created another short film called Beyond Dream's Door, and to be honest, for a low-budget short that he made in college, it looks pretty interesting. I think as a writer and composer, Wolfel has some strong original ideas, and he clearly has a passion for the horror genre, which you'll love to see. Unfortunately, strong ideas were not present for Ghost Lake, and don't be fooled by this fairly decent-looking cover art. This does not reflect the film in any way. Also, it kind of looks like the art from The Fog. Our story begins, as all good stories do, at a funeral. Some dude is reading a Bible verse from like the very end of the Bible. Is he reading the glossary or something? Is there a glossary in the Bible? He's actually reading Revelations 20:13, which is a verse about being judged and is slightly ominous. That's a very weird thing to read at someone's funeral. If someone read that at mine, I would fire him. Or haunt him, because I guess I'd be dead. This is Rebecca. She is upset, probably because this dress is awful. So stay with me here because we're going into a flashback.
Wow. You make me want to stand up and kiss you.
Dad, no! She's reflecting on the night her parents passed away. She had gone out dancing to the club and stays out late because she meets this guy.
Don't leave now. I was just getting tired of looking at you.
Weird.
I was just getting tired of looking at you and getting ready to ask you to dance.
I was tired of looking at you, and if you dance with me, I'll go blind. The transitions in this scene are straight out of Star Wars, just awful. Almost as awful as the sex scene that follows. Oh no, death by dish soap. Actually, while Rebecca is out, there's a gas leak that knocks her mom out and makes her froth, I guess, and her dad, who is in a wheelchair, can't get out in time, so they both die. We go back to the present where Becky is so racked with guilt, she runs away, or tries to. First, she closes the door to her car, then opens it, then the guy she slept with is in there, and then she throws her keys on the ground and runs again. So I think this is supposed to be a hallucination because why would this random dude be in her car? In fact, knowing what I know about this plot, it's definitely a hallucination. It's a little confusing, but the best part of the scene is that you can see the actor crouching down in the car waiting. If he's a hallucination to just Becky, he doesn't need to be in this shot. I can just imagine how this was directed. Hey Jason, yeah, can you crouch a little lower? We can see you. Yeah, I can't. This is as low as I can go. You know what? It's fine. We got the shot. He's still there as she's running away. As she gets home, the scene is cut together with more flashbacks of her finding her parents the night they died. Ow. 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 I'm not sure whether she's seeing her parents' ghosts or just losing her mind, but either way, she's too terrified to stay in the house, so she hops in her car and leaves. Do gas leaks make people froth at the mouth? No. No, they do not. She makes the drive to her family's summer home in Rushford Lake, but is stopped due to nearly hitting a dude.
Sorry, I almost hit you.
Ugh, sorry, I was in the way. His name is Stan, and he asks for a ride up to the lake, and she obliges. And now, I present to you the best acting you will ever see.
Look out!
Wait. There's nothing there. What just happened? Look, there is nothing there. Was there supposed to be a CGI deer? I swear, I paused this and looked at it for so long. It's like the worst hidden object game I've ever played. They chat on the way to the lake, and it's basically just small talk. Damn, those dashboard lights are bright. They get to the lake and then chat a bit while the rain falls all around them and not on them, which is a trick that would work if it was a short scene, but it is not, and these characters would be drenched at this point. Becky makes herself at home in the summer cottage, but the electricity is out and it's scary. At least it's meant to be scary, and even though we know it's dark outside from the previous scene, the light shining through the window is ruining my suspension of disbelief. Look at it! She manages to fix the breakers and then an intruder. It's your biggest fan. This is Stan. He decides to break in because he was concerned. He leaves as soon as he arrives, and for some reason, Becky kisses him, despite knowing each other for about 2 seconds. Meanwhile, back in 1884, during her morning run, Rebecca meets a little girl who lives in the area. They chat before she runs into the woods like a feral raccoon. Before going home, she stops at a dock, thinking she saw someone there, but ends up encountering what some people would call a major douchebag.
Look, this is a private dock. Get lost, or I'll call the sheriff.
Don't worry, he gets his comeuppance. Okay, ghost rule number 1. Ghosts are corporeal and allegedly murderous. Becky is trying to relax, but keeps having these weird, surreal nightmares. One in particular shows her house being totally submerged in the lake. It reminds me of a mid-90s FMV game. You can't tell me that this doesn't look exactly like Phantasmagoria. In case you didn't realize this was a dream, don't worry. The character tells you it was because the director does not trust the audience.
Just a dream.
Becky thinks she hears something in the attic, so she goes up to check, but finds nothing. Even though so far this movie is cheesy and not very well acted, there is a pretty nice shot here, revealing the little girl from earlier had been hiding up there. I like that. I thought that was effective. Oh good, Stan is back and he's brought the jack.
You also look alone and depressed or upset about something.
You look depressed, so I brought you a depressant. Clearly Stan is trying to woo Becky. He even brings her some dinner. Here, I made you some fruit and a plate of food I found in a retirement home. I love this character. He's either giving way too much or way too little. He goes from a lack of urgency to waxing philosophic by the lake as the lights reflecting off of it nearly blind them.
What did you think stars were as a kid?
I don't know. Stars.
You think stars are stars? Doing great, Stan. Becky suggests they go for a swim.
The water's cold at night.
Excellent line reading. You know, I think we got it, but maybe one more time.
The water's cold at night.
Just practicing my backstroke. Oh, it's private dock. Stan goes inside to call the police, and I guess during that time, the body just floats away or sinks? Because despite the police sending a search team, no one can find it. Time to meet another important character, the local sheriff. So, you single? At this point, Stan has gone missing, and the sheriff tells Becky to stay away from him.
Stay away from Stan James.
He's broken too many hearts. I love it when characters have 2 first names. It just sounds so fake, like a name a romance scammer would use. So Becky tries to tell the sheriff that she saw 2 people, private dock guy and another guy who was fishing. She insists that they are 2 different people. And now, here's where we get more lore, so let's pay attention. The sheriff says, hey, it could be a ghost though, cause this lake is man-made and there was a dam made that covered the town and there are tales of a man whose home was claimed by the water. So he resided in the dock where it was safe. But one day, a giant fish pulls him under and he was never seen again.
His body was never found. Legend is that every 13 years he comes back to this cove to claim another victim.
What comes back, the fish? That sounds like I'm making a joke, but I seriously don't know what he's referring to. He explains the dam was made over a town, says there's maybe a dead body in the lake, then says the fisherman dude was pulled under the lake by a fish, and then says it comes back. Don't worry, the lore only gets more unclear.
Stay away from Stan James. Jury found him innocent, but if you ask me, he killed his father up here last year.
Well, that was casual. Yeah, so if you want my opinion, pretty sure Stan James is a murderer. Alright, you take care now. Becky figures out the noise in the attic is the little girl who has been sneaking into the house due to not liking it at home. Becky tries to take her home, but she runs into the cemetery.
I thought this is where you live!
It is.
Listen, I have seen a lot of horror movies to say this confidently. If a little girl runs into a cemetery screaming, I live here, do not follow her! Becky loses track of her and decides to go back home, but once in the car, she notices the steering wheel is all wet. Private dock! Ghost rules! Ghosts can get wet and break into cars. Terrified, Becky tries to run home, but also encounters the other fisherman ghost. He's made of jello. For some reason, Stan is also out here? He finds Becky and brings her home. She admits to him that she feels responsible for the death of her parents, and now feels like her grief for them is driving her insane, causing her to see ghosts. Stan admits that the sheriff has it in for him, but insists he didn't kill his father.
The sheriff is involved in a drug smuggling ring.
I'm sorry, what? The way he just casually dropped that into the conversation is hilarious. They have a conversation so dull that even the camera gets bored and looks away. The next morning, Becky sees a few people taking a boat ride. Next thing she knows, the boat is going down. Damn it, Bill, I told you not to rock the boat! Becky swims out to try to save the 4 people, but when she gets to the area, they're gone, and so is the entire boat? Once again, the search team is called, but no one is found. Later that night, Becky gets an unexpected visitor. Oh, it's Private Doc. He wants to apologize for getting all bent out of shape. If she would just join him outside, he can redeem himself. Ghost rules! Ghosts cannot enter houses? She declines, and the other fisherman ghost, zombie ghost guy, walks up and turns Private Doc into a leaky undead man. Ew, his nose is all runny. So I don't get it. Are they ghosts? Are they zombies? Becky's going all detective mode now and spending a lot of time in the library researching all the deaths in the town. But uh-oh. The little girl is a ghost? Alright, so here's where it gets a little weird. She takes the librarian into the children's section where the little girl is playing with a ball. Ghost rules! Ghosts can interact with objects. The librarian cannot see the little girl, but does that also mean she doesn't notice this ball loudly bouncing against the floor? They show her picking it up, so it's definitely there. She tries to ask the little girl who she is, and this is the best scene because in the background you can see a tiny little bear puppet in this dollhouse. What is that? I nearly missed it and had to do a double take. So before we move on, a little insight. One of my friends went to a Q&A with the film's director, and when he was asked about the puppet, he apparently played dumb, like he didn't know it was there. But in his production notes, he explains that the bear is there because the presence of the ghost is making other things in the room come alive. I don't know if I really buy that, but it does confirm this character is a ghost and that the librarian, in theory, should have seen the bouncing ball. Later on, in another room, the librarian suddenly sees the little girl. As she leaves, she tells Becky that she should count to 13. Becky then notices a girl in a newspaper from 1967 who looks just like the ghost girl named Sandra who drowned in the lake. Creepy. Now keep this date in mind, we're gonna talk about it later. After a night of research, Becky knows all the lake lore. She and Stan go out on a boat, and she explains that the first victim of the lake was in 1928, disappearing off the dock.
Yes, and this means...
Nothing.
Then why did you say it? This is where the movie tries to set up the lore, and I watched this scene, I kid you not, 5 times and I still don't understand it. The ghost lore is so needlessly complicated that even if it does somehow make sense, it takes so long to put it together that it's no longer interesting.
These are all the places where people have drowned and then disappeared every 13 years since the lake was first created.
If the fisherman is this year's victim, it'll be a long time before anyone else is...
No, he's already come back looking for a new victim. I'm afraid that now they're all going to come back and take 13 new victims with them.
But why? Why? What are the ghost motivations here?
You mean to tell me that everybody who drowned in this lake was never found?
No, only once every 13 years.
What? This plot is also riddled with mistakes. She says a couple drove off the road into the lake in 1967, but according to the movie, it happened in 1962, which doesn't align with the every 13-year interval that the movie set up. But what really kills me about this scene is when Becky starts telling a tale of a couple who died right off the lake. She sees the ghosts in real time killing a new couple as this is the next cycle, and if that were true, the year would have to be 2006, but this year was released in 2004. That blood splatter though. This scene is so confusing because at first, you might think it's a flashback, but then it shows Becky reacting to the people getting killed and pulled under by the ghosts of Jake and Mary Collins, but you wouldn't know that because the lighting of these scenes are so different. And where is she looking? It looks like nothing is going on over there. In fact, this looks like the grass the murder is happening on. And then for some reason, she looks behind her?
Every 13 years, someone disappears on the 13th day of the month.
Ah! Oh good, now they're bringing religion into it.
Judas was the 13th guest to arrive at the Last Supper and betray Jesus.
That was the day he was crucified.
Nowhere does it say that Jesus was crucified on Friday the 13th. I love that Becky says this.
1313. Why is that such a scary number?
I never paid much attention to it before.
Then goes on to spew all of this trivia about the number 13. How did you learn all of this in like a day? Why do you know all of this?
The Egyptians were the first to develop a superstition about the number. In a deck of tarot cards, the 13th card is the death card. The Hebrew and Greek names for Satan are multiples of the number 13. The 13th attribute of God is his power to visit the sins of the father upon the son.
Stan tells her she might just be seeing things induced by the stress and grief of her parents' death.
I can just pop some of these and fix myself right up.
Becky, this is vitamin D. Then we see the boat scene again, except this time everyone else can see it too, and bodies are recovered. So does that mean the first scene was a hallucination? Is Becky losing her mind, or are the ghosts doing things to screw with her? What is going on?
There's too many things here that just don't fit the pattern.
Oh good, the sheriff is back.
But we found all the bodies.
We found another one!
Okay. There's no way the director didn't know that that would sound hilarious.
But we found all the bodies.
We found another one!
There shouldn't be another one.
Quality dialogue. Good news, all the bodies are finally surfacing for some reason. Then Becky says there should be 13 new ones this year.
Well now, Sheriff, what is she talking about?
That's what I'm saying! They even find the corpse of the little girl who supposedly died in 1967, but no, plot twist, the movie goes on to say that this little girl died very recently and has a twin who looks exactly like this girl. So who is this girl from 1967? How am I supposed to interpret this? Though I do love the fact that the sheriff takes Becky, a random woman, to the girl's grandparents' house to break the news that they found the little girl. Jesus Christ, Becky, tell them.
The sheriff and this lady found your sister in the lake today.
The little girl says that it's no big deal because she sees her sister all the time. Apparently, she follows her sister everywhere, asking her to go for a swim. Spooky. They also visit another crime scene where an unidentified man took his life by jumping into the dam. And at this point, I had racked my brain with dates and math, and I have just stopped trying to figure it out. I need you to know that I put a Herculean amount of effort into trying to explain these ghosts, because a lot of the appeal of horror films, especially ghost films, is trying to piece their backstories together. For example, whether or not you like Ari Aster, I think no matter how complicated his films are, you can parse them and figure out the parts that are left unsaid. Everything is intricately woven together, and even if you don't catch everything, you can, in theory, figure out how things connect. I cannot do this with Ghost Lake, I tried. The dates don't match up, I don't understand these ghosts, sometimes the number 13 makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. It's a mess.
There's too many things here that just don't fit the pattern.
Meanwhile, we finally see the little girl having an encounter with her dead sister, presumably trying to lure her into the lake. And maybe she does. I'm not sure.
I talked to him anyhow. Shouldn't eat too much. Shouldn't watch too much TV. Shouldn't bounce on the furniture.
I have absolutely no idea what she said there. None. Meanwhile, Becky is starting to think that her new boyfriend Stan is a little weird. I mean, why would anyone think that? Is it because of the weird green lighting and strange gummy fish in his fish tank? Becky and Stan head back to town where all the bodies are being stored, and she goes to look at one of them. This baloney's gone bad. I know the green stuff is probably supposed to be seaweed, but it looks like dill. And now, some special effects.
Don't cry, Grandma. I'm not really dead.
Brother,
Alright, we got some more ghost rules. Can possibly possess people? Or something?
Which one of us do you like better? I can be either or both.
Okay, so I think the little girl is a ghost now? I don't know. Plot twist. The sheriff is one of the ghosts, come back to the living to take another life. And the other ghosts are zombies for some reason, and they came back to claim their victims.
Why is all this happening?
Understanding it doesn't matter.
Thanks, Becky. This movie is very long, very padded, and moves slowly, so I will try to explain what happens next as briefly as I can. See, Becky is supposed to be the 13th new victim. Ghost sheriff and ghost boyfriend, yes, he is a ghost, were working together to get Becky to throw herself into the lake so the cycle of lake deaths can continue. Becky needs to be Stan's victim. I have no idea why, she just does. We also get more crazy lore with numbers and dates that don't make sense.
13 months ago, the little Thompson girl drowned and disappeared in the lake.
13 months? Okay, so who is this girl from 1967? Is it just a bad edit? Hey, Roses from the editing room here, and I do think it's a bad edit. I'm looking at it right here, and there's a scene where Becky is looking at a photo of the drowned girl, and then it goes directly to the newspaper that says 1967. So the scene might just be trying to emphasize the number 13, but either way, super confusing. Also, at the end of this movie, they show the little girl's tombstone, which doesn't have a date on it. super helpful. And I thought the interval was every 13 years. So how does 13 months ago tie into this?
There's too many things here that just don't fit the pattern.
I know. I said I would stop trying to make sense of the movie, but I can't. I'm in it now. Ghost Lake has me. This feels like a weird pyramid scheme where ghosts need to keep killing people to make them into ghosts so that the haunted lake keeps thriving or something. The last 10 minutes of the film are the most confusing. Stan seemingly drowns, but it was just an act to guilt Becky into jumping into the lake. Then a zombie horde comes after Becky. Join our MLM. Okay, I guess the little girl isn't dead because she tries to save Becky from the lake victims. She says she survived the night her ghost sister tried to drown her. In order to save Becky, they both jump into the lake and hold their breath, feigning their own death. When they surface, all the ghosts die for realsies. Ghosts can explode. Becky is surprised when Stan comes back and notices the little girl lost her life in the lake when they fake drowned. Why did she go with Becky? That was weird. So Stan comes back.
She will come back, and it will go on and on until another 13
No, he was gonna explain it. Come back. He was gonna explain it. So the cycle is finally broken, I think. After Becky fixes the lake situation, she goes back home and is finally able to find peace with her parents.
Too late. Too late to be crying over something you didn't do.
Aw, isn't that nice? I did not understand what happened at the end of this movie, and since no one explained it to me, I had to look it up. I found Jay Wolfel's website, and he has a page for Ghost Lake production notes. And let me be clear, these are not notes. This is an entire dissertation. You know your story is good when you have to explain it. Here are some highlights from his explanation. Ready? Every 13 years, on a month with a Friday the 13th, someone, or sometimes several people at once, has drowned in the lake and not been found. Those paying too much attention may notice a newspaper dated on Friday the 13th. The question then might arise, how could the paper appear the same day as the deaths? The answer: many small town papers in that area of the country do not come out in the morning. They are afternoon papers. Other deaths, like the one that climaxes in the film, happen in the dead of night. The dawn of the 13th day, or still of the night of the 12th, would have reported it on the 13th, even if it was a morning paper. Okay. I assume going into the movie that people have a passing understanding of numerology, or at least enough to grasp the idea that numbers have a certain power and or that numbers control everything. From superstition, I take the idea that 13 is unlucky and generally bad, even a demonic number, so then the more 13s you have, the worse it gets. As the lake reaches its magic number of 13 victims, the cycle starts to accelerate. Something happens. What happens? What happens to accelerate it? Then 13 months later, it happens again. Then the next is 13 weeks, then 13 days. Ultimately, it comes down to the last 13 seconds until the end of the final Friday the 13th. How was I supposed to know that anything was escalating to the point of it being down to 13 seconds? The movie doesn't explain that, and by that logic, are you also saying things happen every 13 hours, every 13 minutes? Wouldn't there be more deaths happening? Oh my god, I just realized there's another 13! Way back in the beginning, at the funeral, the guy is reading from Revelations chapter 20, verse 13.
Chapter 20, verse 13.
Oh, I wonder how many other 13s I missed. I wonder if there are 13 of them every 13 minutes. I get the feeling that Jay Wolfel doesn't like negative feedback about his movie. Here's a response to a comment left on his promotional trailer. One of the worst movies ever made. Hey Starry, why don't you share your opinion with the one subscriber you have and leave my channel alone? You do prove that people still say things like worst movie ever, as if that means anything anymore. At least most of the internet has grown up into an interactive community, not just those who want to rain on others' parades, rather than make their own parades. Hey, I understand this isn't the best comment, it's rude, but I also don't think it warrants a response making fun of this person's lack of subscribers and drive to make art. Hopefully Jay doesn't come after me, cause I do make art. Some of it's bad, but hey, I made it. Despite not being able to make any sense of the ghosts, I don't think this is the worst film ever made. I actually like the main concept. I think with better acting and a simpler plot, it could have been taken a little more seriously. I don't even think all the acting is bad. I think the woman who played Becky he did fine. The others definitely leave something to be desired. There's also some criticism about the music, but I didn't think it was bad. I think Jay Wolfel is a talented composer with some good, albeit very confusing ideas. I kinda wish he had just leaned more into its cheesiness, whether that was intended or not, because it could definitely be a fun watch with friends or at a theater that shows cult films, but I think Wolfel is 100% serious about his vision. And hey, some people must have liked it because according to the cover, Phil Davies Brown from HorrorAsylum.com called it one of the best horror movies I've seen this year. I think I'll just go ahead and read his entire review. Huh, that's weird. It doesn't say that. Wait. Ghost Lake controversy? A message from Phil. I was contacted in early 2005 by the American distributor to say that they had read my review and were happy that I enjoyed the film. They also informed me that it would be out in America and Canada in May. A little while later, they kindly asked if they could perhaps quote my review of the film for their box art. They told me they couldn't really put one of the best straight-to-video B movies I've seen this year on the cover. After all, if your little movie was competing against Spider-Man 2 for shelf space at Blockbuster, you would want to give it the best chance possible, wouldn't you? And asked instead if they could change straight-to-video B movies to horror movies, and I agreed. Okay, while that's not the most egregious change I've ever heard, it's certainly enough to change the meaning of this sentence. While I loved reviewing this movie, I think I enjoyed reading things about the movie on sites like this even more. The movie is just the gift that keeps on giving. So I guess I failed the initial challenge of explaining how the ghosts work, but hopefully this was entertaining anyway. I tried. I really did. I started taking notes. If you have a weird horror movie you are dying to see me cover, please leave a suggestion in the comments, or if you have your own challenge for me, I would love to hear those too. Oh, and if you want to try to explain this movie further to me, go for it. Maybe I missed one of the many escalating 13s. Thanks again for watching, and as always, stay spooky. Hey everyone, thanks for watching whatever this was. A weird breakdown of a needlessly complicated horror movie. If you want to see more horror content from me, I have plenty, but first a massive shout out to my patrons, for if not for them, I wouldn't have been able to buy this DVD because it's streaming literally nowhere. If you want to support the channel and ensure I keep doing reviews like this, please consider joining my campaign, and if not, engage in any way you can. Likes, comments, and shares, oh my. If you want to see more from me, I have a few suggestions on the screen. On the left is a review I wrote for a horror film called The Company of Wolves, starring the absolute legend Angela Lansbury, and on the left I have a Goosebumps episode review, also about wolves, coincidentally. Thanks again, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.